Everybody, and welcome to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mr. Craven. All right, guys. So I'm doing a build for one of my viewers. She got her warden up. I'm kind of playing with a couple of things because I want to try to get this as good as possible for her. She had something in mind. I like where she's going with it. I just want to kind of make sure we're getting kind of maximum results. And I hope she shows up today. So this is for one of my long-term subscribers. I think a lot of people are starting to like this. I'm not going to do this every day for everybody. That's just too overwhelming even for me. But long-term subscribers and I think sponsors deserve this type of content. So if you want to, good morning, Lewis. So if you want a future build if you want me to do a build in the future for you, custom build, please download the app for YouTube Gamer or whatever, and then hit that sponsor button. And if you're a sponsor and you want me to do a custom build, I will do those in the future from time to time for those sponsors. So, and that to me is going to be a plus. So I hope after this Storm will hit that sponsor button. All right, so I need to create another sword for the Night Mother's Gaze, because she's using Night Mothers with Spriggans. And there's a couple of things that I'm kind of taking a look at, because Night Mothers doesn't have to be a static set, right? Because we can get like one effect to apply, preferably an AoE effect, because then we can keep Spriggans as the static set, and that makes a huge difference. I'm just going to create it, whatever. And I'm going to go with the Sharpen on this, because I went with the Khajiit, because I already know the sets lack. There was only 2 crits, but the Khajiit's going to get that 10%. But also I'm going to show you guys a little trick here. So we're going to go ahead, make this into the Sharpen trait. Because what she's using 1 crawls, 1 slime crawl, but I actually think 2 slime crawls is going to be the better option. If I become a sponsor, how do the users send you their build information? What you're going to do is you'll go ahead, and when I'm on a live feed, or you can do it on a post. Just say, Mystic, I want you to do a build for me, and then I'll just go ahead. You give me your idea, and on the thing, and on either the comment section of whatever, like this, after this is done, Lewis, you'd go ahead, leave a comment, and if you're a sponsor, I'll go ahead on the next episode. I'll do these probably once a week now, and I will take a look at it and see what we can configure, and see how we can optimize that build idea for you. And that's kind of what I want to do. And, you know, in the future for, you know, the sponsors and stuff, because I was like, okay, you know, that's kind of a good idea. You know, promoting the players to go ahead and, you know, want me to do these things. I can do it. I can't do it for everybody, but I definitely want to get involved and try to help players, you know, customize their own build and try to maximize what they're trying to do with it. So, or you can even be on here. If you're on here on a live feed and I see that green icon saying you're a sponsor, okay, cool. Next episode, you know, I got 1 or 2 sponsors that want me to go ahead and customize builds, and we'll make that a weekly thing. This is your build, Storm. This is yours. You get that app and become my sponsor after this if this works for you. You should be my sponsor if you like this. If you like it. If not, you don't have to do anything. Morning, Robert. Great idea on content, Mystic. You never disappoint. Thank you, Lewis. I'm going to switch things up a little bit, though, Storm. I got your parameters, and they're on my other page, so I can keep everything in line, because I want to kind of keep it true to what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, now I haven't traded these yet. I'll go ahead and do that, or glyph this set when I'm done. But I'm going to put this in the bank. I'm going to switch tunes to the warden I made. I am on the PTS. This gives me a lot of flexibility just to switch out the races, kind of, you know, customize things a little bit faster on the fly. So we're going to go ahead and do this, and if I get disconnected, I will come back. I'm probably needing a new GPU because sometimes I still DC. I think it's a GPU issue. So hopefully we can do that. It's kind of been limiting me on some of my PC play. I got the new Mobo in, so it's not that. RAM looks good. So it's got to be a GPU. Okay, Storm. I'm hoping this will. You got to download the app, though. You have to download the app, the YouTube gaming app on your phone, or just whatever, and then you click that sponsor button. Okay. But I will be doing this in future episodes for sponsors. Morning, Mustang. Good to see all of you guys. Now, I didn't gold this out. That's fine. No, that's not it. Where is that sword? Oh, right there. Yeah, I did gold it out. All right, let me switch tunes. Now, I made this Khajiit. Now, you might be a red guard. The reason I went with Khajiit because there's going to be 2 crit values, right, Storm? And you want the Lover Mundus, but we're going to worry about a little bit of the penetrating value. And I'm going to go with the Spriggans and static because you have, I believe, Night Mother static. And Night Mothers, you don't need to have a static on it. So it's kind of a nice thing. That's not it. That's it. This is the PTS. I'm on the PTS so I can customize the build on the fly. So I have access to all, like, you know, the gold stuff. I can, you know, go to the, you know, the thing and test everything. Now, also you have 1-piece Krogs and 1-piece slime crawl. I'm going to test it on that end, Storm. Then we're going to go with the 2 slime crawl and the 2 Krogs. We're going to change it up and try to see if the monster set would go ahead and be a little bit more beneficial. Now, I think I loved where you were going with this, Storm, because I kind of have a similar setup, but I don't use the slime crawl. But when you were talking about this, I'm like, you know, I kind of am a little familiar with this, but at the same time, it's all about you. It's about what you want to do. I love the fact that you're going with the dual wield ultimate too. I could see your application in it. It makes sense to me. I was like, you know, I'm definitely interested in doing this. I like the YouTube gaming app better. Yeah, doesn't seem to buffer as much as the regular YouTube app. Right, and if you get that app, you can go ahead and click the sponsor button. Join late, but if I sponsor Mystic, would you help me with my build? Of course, Mustang. Of course. I kind of want to promote the people you got, all you guys that support me. And I want to make this like a weekly content. To me, that's kind of like, oh, welcome, Storm. Welcome. Thank you for the sponsor. You could have waited. You could have waited because if this didn't work out to your preference, you know. Finish power leveling my DK and Nightblade. Nice. Nice. Very nice. Yeah, there it is. Is the app able on iPhone? Yes. Yes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put on the Night Mothers. Now you're going to see what I'm going to do here, Storm, is I'm going to keep the Spriggans static, right? The penetration value is not going to drop off, right? So that's going to be the consistent variable at the consistent value at all time. The applied variable is going to be the Night Mothers. Because when you see on this end, and I go to the Night Mothers, now I'm 5 in. Because only thing I need to do is apply the effect to get the extra penetration deduction. What's the sponsor stuff? If you get the app, if you're on a phone or an iPad or something, Rock, and you get the YouTube gaming app, there's a little ad or a little button that says sponsor. And when you sponsor me, it's basically, you know, saying, oh, yeah, I sponsor this channel. And that's basically saying, you know, okay, hey, Mystic, this is a great idea. It involves the community. Right. And I kind of want to do that. Once a week, I want to go ahead, take the sponsors, the ones that are dedicated and the ones who, you know, support me. And I want to say, hey, you know what? They're a sponsor. I want to go ahead and commit to helping these players who, you know, support me and help them out as well. I think it's a great way to do it. A friend told me I had too much pen, and I think that's what the Krogs was going to be the problem. But you still want around about 12k pen. Now, in a trial situation, that would be true because of deduction values. It's $5 a month, right? It's $5 a month for the sponsor, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to basically take a look at your skills here. Now let me throw up this little comment section you had. Okay. Oh, you didn't give the actual skill line. That's fine. But I know you were using the ultimate. We're going to unlock all of the thing. And you said you got 5 points into health. And that's fine. I won't have the food on this. So that's fine. Yeah, it's $5 a month. You don't have to, but if you are sponsoring me, and and I feel like that's a great way to say thank you to the sponsors and say, hey, you know what? You guys do sponsors. You guys support me anyways, and that's, to me, is what I'm going to go ahead and do on a weekly occurrence. Go ahead, take the sponsors. If you leave a comment section on one of the sites like this, and you come in and I see you're a sponsor, once a week I will go ahead with build options on the PTS for the sponsors. So I think that's a great way to keep the community involved. Okay, I'm going to unlock all the passives first. Okay. Now we're going dual wield and bow. I'm going to pick up that ultimate on the dual wield. I really kind of like that idea. I'm going to show you why I'm going to change that up and maximize that potential. Okay, you can go with the Ren, increase the duration, or you can go with Thrive and Chaos. I like the Thrive and Chaos for the PvE application, but the Ren's really good in PvE. So Storm, here becomes my question. If you was going to use this ultimate, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer the Ren, or would you prefer the Thrive and Chaos? Oh, okay. So you got 5 in Magicka. Okay. Which one would you want if you were going to go with this ultimate, Storm? Ren or Thrive and Chaos? This is good for PvE. PvP. PvE, you're going to get a little bit more bang out of your buck for this. Laugh out loud. Pimp my ride for ESO Daily. Pimp my build sponsored by you. Whenever Mystic gets streaming, so hit that notification bell. Boop. There it goes. We could change it out if you want, but I think the Thrive and Chaos is a good PvE, and then you could kind of switch things up. PvP, this is really nice, though, too. So we'll hit the Thrive and Chaos for now. Okay, so you can take a spammable on this, but one of the major things you want to go ahead, we're going to take the Steel Tornado. Rend. Okay, you'd want the Rend. Okay, let me go ahead. We'll respect that just really quick here. Take the morphs, and I got to do that really quick. Now, mind you, I don't have the food on here. Oh my God! Thank you, Ranger. Welcome. Oh, Ranger, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, we're gonna take the morph. So you want the Rend. I'm gonna switch up that really quick. 5 magic, 5 health. Rest into the stamina. Welcome. Thank you, thank you. Okay, now let's go back into the dual wield. Let's get that Rend. Okay, now also what we're going to do here, Storm, we're going to change this up just a little bit. I want to go ahead and get that Undaunted passive. Now keep in mind I'm not going to have the food, and that's going to make a difference for you. What type of food? You can go max health and max stamina, or you can use dubious or things like that, depending on the circumstances. We want to get these Khajiit bonuses. I'll change that out, and we're going to take a look at that for you, too. Okay. And in Assault, we definitely want to grab the Caltrips with this build, and I will show you why. So on PvE, not necessarily PvP, but PvE, when you do PvE content, you'll want this on the dual wield bar. It's going to be very important. And I'll show you why. Okay, now, we're going to pick up the traits for all the unlocks for our mediums. We're going to do the heavy, at least these ones. Because we got one heavy, all medium. We don't need the other ones because that applies to 5-piece bonus sets. We want the bow. We want to go ahead with that arrow barrage. We want that nice poison injector. Now, you're not going to use the bow ultimate on this in PvE. PvP, you may. So we're going to go ahead. And if you're going to go PvP with this, since you're not dealing a lot of the poison, I would suggest the ballista. The Fighters Guild is going to be really important how we configure this. So, here's the big deal. PvE, Flawless Dawnbreaker is going to be kind of the way to go. PvP, Smiting is a better option. But we're going to go with the Flawless on this, but you can switch it out. And I'll show you why. I'm going to pick this up as well. And we're going to go with the Rearming Trap. Let's pick up these passives. Alright. Now we're going to go in to class abilities. We're going to go ahead and take that Cutting Dive. This is the big one too, is your Subterranean Assault. Some people have still struggle with that. We're going to go with the Stamnetch. Now you do have this, but I'm going to tell you how, when and not to go ahead and apply this. Birds of Prey does do the increased damage, but keep in mind what this is going to go ahead and do is give you the minor berserk, right? This is why I said this to you, Storm. So PvP, you can switch this build up just by switching out your monster set and the skill. But in PvE, you don't have to slot that. That gives you another room, increasing your damage with the Slime Crawler. Because you're going to get, when you go into Resto Staff, now this is a big one too, and this is another thing I want to show you. So when we go into combat prayer, minor berserks apply. That's why I don't use Slime Crawl a lot. Because a lot of people will get that minor berserk anyways. So when we go into the monster sets, and it's good for PvP, the set, right? So when we go to Slime Crawl, we get the minor berserk. Hence why it doesn't do so well. But the critical value, I see where you're going with it. Now, I'm also going to go ahead and pick up, you have that, where is it? Now, I'm going to grab Sleene, Skeletrax, and Krogs. And another one I want to grab here. Or is it not Kina? Oh, there it is, Veladreth. Okay, so these are kind of going to be a lot of your options for monster sets. Now, you have one piece of Krogs. And these are all medium. So I'm going to pick up one piece of Krogs. Well, I'll grab that shoulder too. I hate the head, the way the head looks. I mean, it looks like one of them, you know. We'll grab also the Selines. We'll grab the Skeletrax. We're going to grab the Slime Crawl because we're going to do it by your parameter. Okay. So, also I need to go ahead and get glyphs. So, consumables. There it is. Armor enchantment, weapon enchantment, jewelry enchantment. Alright. We want stamina. We want increase. Add some weapon. Jewelry will want 1 weapon damage. Gotta have a nice amount of regen. Okay. Weapon enchantments. I want 1 poison. And I want 1 return. Alright. We're going to enchant this with the poison. We're going to take our main hand. Put the increase on that one. Offhand. Return. Head. We're going to use 1 Krogs. And 1... Oh, why is that light? I grabbed the wrong one. 1 Slime Crawl. Okay. Poison on bow plus main hand. Oh, you got poison on main hand? Okay. I'll actually leave it like that for a minute. I'll take a look at it and then we can switch it out. Okay. I kind of wanted to check something. Do you have one? You had 1 increase though on the jewelry, right? So you have 2 regen and 1 increase, I take, Storm? I imagine that's how you did it, but I'm not sure. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. Looks good. Okay, now let's configure the champion points real quick here. Now you have a lot, and now mind you, I didn't get the Mundus yet. We're going to do, let me pop out the calculator here. Let's take a look at this. And this is important because penetrating value is a very, very, very serious thing. The way we can kind of configure this, that one is Fugly Outfit. I wanted to see what this motif looked like, so I was kind of interested. So that's why I crafted in it. I know. It's different. Okay, so our static value is going to be Spriggans. So the Spriggans is going to go ahead and give us a 3,329. Plus, we're going to use the Night Mothers as a deducted value that will add to our penetration for another 2,580. Plus, we are using 1 piece of the Krogs, which gives us 1,487. Plus, we have 1 Sharpen of 1,376. Plus, we want to take into consideration Major Fracture, which is 5,200 and... Let me go to skills. We'll absolutely make sure. I want to say 5,280. Yep, 5,280 equals 14,052. Now, you're not going to need the Lover Mundus because of that. Because if you take away that value of 18,200, that leaves you a 4,000 cushion. Now, keep in mind, people will use crushers, like tanks will use crushers. Is there a cap on pen? If you go over 18.2, you lose DPS, King. That's what ends up happening. So you want to try to keep the penetrating values on Steam. Typically, I like to try to keep around 11 to 14, but I have 16. You can go up to 16. That's very, very little, but that's with the maul on a 4-man. But you would take the maul off because the 20% is taken directly off the top. So you kind of want to go ahead and take off the maul on a 4-man. If you want an extra penetrating value, you could craft a maul on that there, Storm, and just bypass the Lover completely, because now you're able to go with the Warrior Mundus. Now on the back bar configuration, because we're going to be using Night Mothers as an effect that's applied, and on a trial you only need one person with Night Mothers. So another option, Storm, is to have Huntings on backup. So if somebody has the Night Mothers, that deducted value is going to apply. But in a 4-man, it's not going to hurt you. Same thing with PvP. PvP, when you apply any type of effect on the dual wield side, the deduction is going to occur. So that's kind of why I like where you're going with it, because all you have to do is craft a set with Impen with Night Mothers. Boom, you're good. You know, you're good. Your penetration values are there. But if you're doing a trial with this type of build, I would suggest keeping Huntings on the back end just in case somebody has Night Mothers. But one person should have Night Mothers on trial. One person should. Okay. So on the dual wield side, I want to put the caltrops. Now keep in mind, you don't have to do this, Storm, but I find it very resourceful. We're going to be using the Rend, right? So I'm going to put the rearming trap on this back bar, along with the caltrops, and I got to keep my AoE effect. But my major brutality is going to be derived from my little pet. So when I go into the dual wield side, I want to make sure I have that Steel Tornado in place. Now what this is going to go ahead and do is give me the 6% on this end. So I'm not down to 3. Now I can maintain 6% on the other end, thus increasing my damage considerably by keeping it, you know, even on both ends. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to place that Rend. And that's going to really be nice because it's going to give you a little bit of survivability. And look what we're doing. We're doing that 31. That's without the Mundus applied. All right. Now, another thing we want to go ahead and do, now keep in mind you have a delay, but you can run the spammable on this bar. Now, what I would suggest, if you don't like the birds and you want up close, this is kind of where I do like the rapid strikes on this, right? And then you can go ahead. Now keep in mind, in this passive, you're increasing for every damage ability, for every ability that you slot, right? So I would go ahead and put Subterranean Assaults there. Now you can use Cutting Dive, that's fine, but it starts slowing down. And with the rapid strikes, when everything hits, you can kind of whatever. But if you want to go with the birds on that, you can. That would increase your damage significantly. So that's going to be an option for you, which spammable you are going to go ahead and use. But this is going to be delayed effect. This is going to apply, right? So you got your 2 effects here. That's an extra 4% on top of your 6. So you've just increased by 10% your Steel Tornado and your Rend. Okay? Now on the back bar, on PvE, now PvP you can use Ballista, but in PvE situations, I would suggest, once again, upping your bow's capability. So we're going to go with the Flawless. We're also going to go with that Camouflage Hunter. That's going to keep everything at 6%. That's going to affect your weaves too, your heavy attacks, your light and heavy attacks. Now, this gives you a lot more flexibility because now you can also go back into the animal companions and you can use that utility like the Bull Netch, and then you can put on Birds of Prey. Now Birds of Prey, like I said, PvP is going to be great because you're going to get that minor berserk, but here's the deal: in PvE you don't need it so much if the healer is applying the combat prayer. It's kind of a waste of bar space. That's all it becomes, but you still want that extra 2%, right? So to me, that's why I would go ahead, take the Cutting Dive and put it in over on this bar. That's me, but if you wanted to, you could. But you keep in mind, you're going to go ahead and still put Endless Arrow Barrage. Now I keep both AoEs on the back end. So as soon as I hit the Endless, the Arrow Barrage, I switch over and I do Steel Tornado. Okay, and then I always keep like the Poison Injector, usually over, you know, on the front bar or whatever, depending if I'm using a builder. Now see, you have one extra spot. So now you can decide, do I want the wings or do I want the birds? If you don't want the birds because you're using on the back, then by all means, go and then take that Birds of Prey and apply it here, and take your Bull Netch and apply it here. If you want it, if you feel like that's enough abilities. But to me, it's not, because I would rather have the Bull Netch, sacrificing a little bit, and then I'd throw the caltrops. So how I would do it is throw caltrops over here to keep the Night Mothers applied for the dots. That's how I would do it. Well, no. Yeah. Put the caltrops over here let's keep your spammable over. You're going to lose a little bit, but at least they give you your spammable. Or you could go with, let's go with those birds, that cutting dive. Kind of like that, because now your Night Mother's going to proc. You have a spammable on this, got that. And now we can go ahead and put the subterranean assaults here or something. Oh, actually, whoa. We can keep everything delayed on the back bar and use our spammable in the front end with the birds of prey. ESO Day, aka Mystic, has a video on how to determine how much penetration you need. Right. Dope. So here it is. This is kind of configuration. I would actually go spammable on the bow side. Why? Because now we can put the delay. And I'll show you how you'll throw out down the rotation. It'll be kind of a determining factor if you're doing AoE. AoE effects are all here except this. Single target's going to go ahead, apply your caltrops, switch out, move in, apply, spam. Kind of like that. I really like that. I run Deadly Cloak. Is that okay? Oh, yeah. If you want to do Deadly Cloak, that's even better. So if you can get rid of the Razor Caltrops. If you want more survivability, that's a really good idea. So if I can get rid of that, put it over here, then that would also proc. That's another good point, because this is also going to proc Night Mothers, right? So when you're in and you're on this side, and once you set it and you switch out, the damage from this side will keep the Night Mother proc effect. So instead of Caltrops, you can use the Deadly Cloak. That's a perfect idea. Caltrops deals a little bit more consistent, but you know, you can do that. And I like this as your spammable if you want to do that. If not, you can go ahead and switch out the subterranean, put it on this bar, and then go with your spammable on the other. So you can just switch it. You see what I'm saying? You can switch your bird and your subterranean. I would post a link to the penetration video, but YouTube does not allow that in chat. Oh my gosh, do they not really? Jeez, that's just... YouTube, man, I swear. They need to be a little... They did a survey for me, like, as a content creator, if I liked it. And I do. I didn't give it a perfect because of little things like that. But I did. I hit like, very pleased. So I did do that. So we're going to go to the house. If I can travel there. Okay. Weird delay. And let me show you why I did the Khajiit. I'll go ahead and configure the champion points. Now, we can take this up to about 16 too. But given the fact that you have a lot of penetration in this build, Storm, and we opted to keep the Spriggans static and the Night Mothers on a proc end, which is what I would tell you to do on this build, we're going to go into the champion points. Now, let's go ahead and configure this. The biggest... Let's see the stats. Yeah, I'm going to get into it. 1 second. Now, keep in mind, Jackson, don't have the food. So after I do this and I get that, the Mundus, I'm going to show you guys the stat sheet. So we're going to deal some physical weapon. 75 is going to be our really key to go up here. So we're going to go about 9 starting off. We want to go ahead and get this Master at Arms up considerably, but not over the threshold. So I'm going to say 21, 75. Boom, I'm so good. Look at that. Look at that. Who knows this math? Off the top of my head. All right, you're going to deal some poison damage. Not a lot. Some. I would go ahead and say 6% starting until we get. You always want 1208 in precise strikes. That's the equivalent value of the Shadow Mundus. Right? You can take that up a little bit if you want. But a diminishing value happens, I think, after 16%, where the critical threshold is no longer worth it. Okay. Piercing. You don't need penetration. You can opt for a little bit more. But here's the big one, is going to be your Mighty. You can take this. You can now afford to take this up to 14% with this build. Okay, that leaves us 39 points left. Now, we're going to come in. We can actually bump this up now to about 23 without suffering diminishing return. We could take the physical weapons weave if we wanted to. I would suggest maybe pumping this up to about 9%. And Let's go slightly over 11. Let's get a little bit more on that crit end. Got 9 points left. 12. 4 points we're not going to be able to allocate, so we'll put the extra remaining 4 into piercing. That'll give you a little bit more, but this will allow you not to waste any. If you want to drop this down to maybe about 12, you probably get another almost, yeah, another percentage off this. It's going to be a call for you, how you want to do that. It's not bad. 5 points. Actually, with 5 points remaining, I can get another one off the physical. Right. There we go. Now, it's pretty standard here. Resistance is going to be a key. If you're just going to play around, you're not going to do hardcore trials, I'd say put 9 here, maybe 10, 11, or whatever. We can probably get it up to about 12. Reduce, reduce, reduce. This one's going to be a big one. You can do this without changing it over for the crit resist. I always go about almost 15. If you're not going to werewolf or vampire, you can easily set these at 9. I put some in healing. Okay. Okay, okay. I'll change that out. Thanks for giving me a heads up. That's actually perfect. Thick skin. Take up to about 9 as well. Let's get some healing received in there, especially since you're going to do some healing on yourself. Let's pump that up a nice 909. It leaves 1 point, and we can go into medium armor focus for our overflow. Okay, now let's change that out now. Since you do that, set that back down to 9.
Why?
Yeah, about 9. Might be able to take this down to 22. Put this up to at least about 6%, I'd say. Yeah, hold on. 14, that looks good. I don't want to sacrifice that. We can pull this down just a hair. Got 4 points over. Might be able to get that up to about 11. Bingo. Okay. Break free is important in both content. I always go about 904. You're going to be doing a lot of running in either or, so I get a deduction about almost 12. Tenacity, weaving is kind of important. We'll go ahead and be a little modest, though, given the fact that you're using a little bit of magicka. So we'll go with that. We'll take Arcanist about 6%. We'll take the Moon Calf up to about 14 without suffering the DR. Anything over that's just a waste. You can go to about 12 if you're comfortable with the rotation. 12 is pretty much like for people who know how to manage resources. 14 is for people who still kind of struggle. You know, it makes a difference in point placement. Health recovery. I try to build for more casual. We're going to go about 9 for that survivability. It's too much. We need block roll. Let's take it down about 16. This is going to be a big one here. If you're going to do PvE, block's better, but roll is I always want roll in PvP. About 6. Got 1 point left. Of course I do. I always have 1 point left. All right. I could take this down to about 5. And I might be able to get a little bit in that block reduction. Yeah. You know, nothing's ever going to be exactly perfect. Okay, now keep in mind, you're not going to need the Lover Mundus on this build, Storm. You are not going to need that Lover Mundus. You're going to want to take... Now, that's why I went with the Khajiit. When you take a look at the critical value, I'm at 60. I'll switch it over to Redguard. We'll do the race change, and we'll see if we can get it under 55 without losing too much. But I think the Khajiit is kind of a nice thing. See, you don't need Thief. right, with the Khajiit. You're not going to need it. You don't need the lover. All your penetrating values is there. So you want the optimal Mundus for this build is going to be the warrior all the way. Okay, now let's get a little bit of that tri-food going. Typically, I would not be suggesting this type of food. Okay, because you wouldn't use this in PvP or whatever, but whatever. Okay, let's take a look at that stat sheet, shall we? Look at that. Now, max health's a little low, but keep in mind you're not using the max health, max, whatever. You could probably afford to lose a little bit on the Magicka end. I'd say you could afford to go down maybe to about 10 to 11. So you could take some of that Magicka, drop it down to about 2, I'd say, and put those extra 3 points in the health. That'll put you up to about 17. That's a pretty comfortable mark. The max stamina looks good considering the food we're using. Stamina recovery is a little low because, once again, you know, it is what it is. You can go with the Serpent if you want. With the Lover, I had 3k more pen. Yeah, and you're going to over-penetrate. We'll do the damage test. Keep in mind, you know, that. That's another thing we're going to do really quick. So, I kind of like this build where it's going. I like your idea here. We're going to test a couple of different monster sets, too, for you there, Storm. Okay, so. Bow side. Now, keep in mind, I did use the Nirnholm traits. So, we have Nirnholm bow. We have a Nirnholm sword. Main hand on Nirnholm always. With the Sharpen. That's why. Because you're looking at about 14k on the pen. And keep in mind, Subterranean Assaults here is going to go ahead and apply Major Fracture. So you're going to get that 5002 Storm. If you use anything over that, you're going to exceed penetrating value. So if I hit this, and I hit my bird, I'm dealing 13-2, right? We're going to switch out the Mundus with the Lover really quick, and I'll show you how that works. Okay. So we're at 13-2. Keep in mind we don't have a Crusher enchant. Alright. So, I'm going to go ahead once again, Subterranean Assault. See? See what happened? You lost damage because you're over-penetrated. That's what happened. So the Lover is not the way to go for you. The configuration's solid, Storm. So your configuration's solid. You're just going to go with the Warrior. That's the only thing you're going to change. You're going to keep the Spriggan static. And you're going to get that extra penetration from the Night Mother on both ends. So basically, ideally speaking, if I'm in close, this is going to apply. Now you could switch this out also for the Caltrops. I forgot to... Now keep in mind also the rearming trap will apply too. Well, now when you throw that up too, you're going to get that extra boost too, I believe, once you hit the food. You could go with a little bit more on the stuff if you want. Now, if you're going to play a range game, I actually would suggest the Caltrops over this. If you're going to play more range game. If you're going to be up close, let's say you're going to be up close and you're going to use more of a spammable in your dual wield. So let's say you go dual wield and you go with rapid strikes instead for a spammable. Right? Nah, I wouldn't like that either. Because then you're going to lose on the weapon damage. You need one of those animal abilities slotted. But let's say you were going to go with that type of situation. And yeah, that's going to be hard. Like, honestly, I would probably have to say Caltrops would be slotted on this side if you were going to use it. depending on your config. But you want to try to keep about 1 or 2. And if you wanted to drop a Camouflage Hunter, you could. But here's the deal. Let me show you something. I'm just going to throw something in here. Let me throw that up. Let me go into the character sheet. Let me take a look. Now, oh, wait. Oh my God. 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 Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Is that a part of what I think it is? No, it's not. I was about to say, if you wanted an extra healing effect, you could actually go with your Green Lotus. It'll apply both over. You can drop it. You keep in mind you're going to lose 3% though. And then you can put in a lot more abilities. It'll carry. So now you can put more Animal Companion on the back bar if you wanted to. That's an option as well. Because if I go ahead and let's say I switch this and I just take it out altogether. Right? And once I hit this and I get in, we're at 65. Why? Okay, yeah. Switch it over. And now look, we're at 60 because of the bow. That's why. So you can do that. Night Mothers and Spriggans are both static for me. If they are, are you using a two-hander? Because it shouldn't be if you're using 2 pieces of monster. It would be static if you're using like a two-hander and a bow. If you and you want to go with that finisher, and you can do that too. I didn't even take in consideration. But you said dual wield, right? Storm? Green Lotus. Yeah, I knew what you were saying as soon as you said Green Lotus. So you could take out the Fighters Guild ability. Storm. You can afford to take that out. And then you can play with the build a lot better. So we can go winners the Cloak. Because now you're using Cloak. Right? Now you can also throw the Caltrops over here. So you can run that. You can run Caltrops. Right? If you wanted to. You have your spammable. Oh, thanks for the donation. Thank you, thank you. And then you got your 2 weapons and basically your spammable and keeping 3% on both ends with both Fighter Guild abilities. 2 armor of Spriggans. Right, I got that. That's what I got. Let me go through and you tell me what's going on here. Okay, so I have a Night Mother's bow. I have a Night Mother's sword. I have another Night Mother's sword. The reason being so it's proc. I have 1 piece of the Krogs. I have a Night Mother's heavy. I have a Slime Crawl's shoulders. I have a Spriggan's belt. I have a Spriggan's bracers. I have guards of Night Mother. I have boots of Night Mother. And I have the jewelry of Spriggans. I have 2-hand bow, the name Sheer Venom weapons, gold on the bow. Yes, I love Sheer Venom, especially in PvP these days. But if you were going with a two-hander, you can do that, and then it would be static on both. You're right, because then you would drop the shoulders of like one of these 2, and you can pick up the finisher instead. And you can do that. That's an option. But if you got 2 monster sets, it shouldn't be static because one of these swords is like a Spriggans for you. You had Spriggans on the back. Take a look and let me know. Because if you're on bow side, it should be more like this. One of them's going to be a blank. Where Spriggans is 5, but my Night Mother's isn't. Because it's 11. To have dual static with 2 pieces of monster, it's a 12-piece configuration. 12-piece configuration. On bow, you only have 11. So it's missing by 1. But if you go 2-hander and drop a shoulder, right, then you have. Now, that's another thing. So Spriggans is static. Right. On this build, I would suggest Spriggans static. Night Mother says proc. Because it'll proc it. Like any of the effects, right, that I throw out, once that throws out, that's static. That's procced. Once that's procced and I come in, Now I'm dealing way more damage than over penetrating the value, because the Night Mothers is an applied effect. I can keep this, I can throw the rearming trap, I can come in and basically use this as my spammable. The birds now become my spammable on this bar. That's my AoE, and once again, I like this build though, Storm. The way this is configured, I'd say this would be a more optimal, but I think your critical value is going to be a little high. So what I would actually suggest, now let's take a look at this. You have a crit set with the slime crawl, right? Because it offers the weapon crit. But I actually think you're going to be better off with something like Skeletrax or... oh, Lewis, thank you! What static means? Static means it's constant. So it's always up. Proc is on a back bar end. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So proc is on back bar end and static is always. It's consistent. So I think Skeletrax is going to be the way. So let me check this out here for you. Okay. So let's say we go ahead. We apply. Okay, and then we come in. Hit the bird. 13092. Now, honestly though, and this crap, something is bad on your setup. Don't worry, that's why I'm here, Storm. Just if you have a dual wield side, you're good. That's why I'm here. I'm going to help you. We'll have everything situated. So instead, I'm going to keep your Krogs on, Storm. We'll go with something like Skeletrax really quick. Okay, we're gonna throw. Get that major fracture. Get that Night Mothers. Hit it. There it is. There it is. Oh! Drop the slime crawl. Drop it. Pick up the Skeletrax. Pick up a Skeletrax shoulder. If you don't want to use the monster proc, pick up the Skeletrax. Now, if you're going to use a monster proc, I would say Beledreth is the way to go for this build. I would say Beledreth proc would be the best way to go because it's going to give you the weapon damage, but you'll lose on base stat. Okay, so let's go over that really quick, how that works out. Okay, so we have penetration. You'll lose penetration if you take Krogs off. Krogs proc, though, is kind of it has a great uptime. Really great uptime, great AoE effect. But if you're going to go with more base stats, you're better off with this type of configuration. You go with Beledreth, you're going to lose a little bit, but, you know, you want the Spriggan static, so it's always, all attacks always do full penetration. Right, right. So basically, I would say this is a better situation with drop the slime crawl, pick up Skeletrax shoulders, keep the Krog's head. I honestly think that's a better scenario. And here's the deal too. Now let's take a look at your character sheet after dropping it. You're at 51, right? But once again, use the Blossom. 61. You see what happened? Look at that. Now you're at 56. You're in that parameter without losing by dropping the slime crawler altogether and picking up another static stat like with Skeletrax. So the Skeletrax, or you can go with Beledreth. Beledreth would even hit harder. So if you want to, like a Beledreth shoulder, let's go in here, go under supplies, go to Beledreth, we'll grab its shoulder. Okay, now we're going to put that on. Now it's going to hit harder with this. So once again, I'm going to go ahead, get that major fracture, get that crit, if it crits. Hold on. There it is, 13-4. 13-4. Oh yeah, and that's without the proper food. 13-4 without proper food. Now once you get the proper food and once you get the major brutality, so you get the major brutality, you get this up, you get that major fracture, you plow this down, hit this up, 14-5. And once you get all buffs applied and stuff, your bird, and keep in mind the distance, you'll be hitting about With the right food, almost 17K, almost. It'll be 16 point something. My weapons are both Night Mothers with 3 Night Mother armor, 5 Spriggans, jewelry. I'm a wood elf. That's why I run crawl. Okay, so if you do the Night Mothers, that's a great point. So we're going to go into the crown store. We'll switch that out. I'm glad you mentioned that. So you are a wood elf. So let's go into upgrades. And we'll go into token. I want to say it's this one. Okay, okay. Appearance.
That's what I think you said. I'm sorry.
Okay. So now I'm going to log out. We'll switch his race. I'm liking Slime Crawl at the moment now. I have the full set. Slime Crawl is really good. Especially in those situations that you're not going to get Minor Berserk. I don't use it in PvE because usually I get combat prayer buff. Okay, so we're going to go race change. We're going to go to Bosner. Okay. We're going to save it.
I'm going to make this one.
And I think that Slime Crawl is definitely going to be your way then. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go in. Yeah, if you're a Bosner, you definitely want to go to the Slime Crawl. Then you're right, Storm, 100% of the way. Because you're losing that critical value. Correct. I love it. I love it, Storm, though. But keeping Spriggan static, and if you're going to go dual wield, use the Night Mothers as a dual wield set. I mean, a proc set. Because any effect's going to apply the debuff. So let's go back into the character sheet, and once we apply the Lotus, it's going to definitely be low. Ah, it's not that bad, actually. 53? And it'll be still, what, 60-something? Oh, wait, that's where it's going to drop at. Ah, you're right. You are right, Storm. So we're going to have to go back to that one piece of Slime Crawls. Because now, that'll throw the critical value up. So on this side, we're looking at 57. On this side, we'll be about 52. Now, you could go with a precise sword, too, and that would throw you up. So if I wanted to go ahead and, let's say, let's go in here. Oh. Supply. You do lose a little bit of penetrating value. But you know what? It's actually pretty good. 52 is pretty good with this. Okay, nothing to do with the broadcast, but since there's people here that can probably answer this. Does healing taken done affect health regen since the file now affects regen? Does healing taken affect health regen since the file now affects regen? No, right. I believe it's completely separate because that's all. The defile definitely affects, right? But what the heck is it off the top of my head? I've taken a look. The other one is going to affect healing. So it's separate in that aspect. But as far as debuffing goes. So, yeah. Honestly, you're right. So I would say that. Now, if you wanted a little bit more, you could transmute. Like, you can go with one precise weapon on the back end. That one would change your Nirnhorn. And like I said, this is... So, you could do... It's all going to be a preference on that. Let me go here. Let's go to crafting. Okay. Consumables. No. Crafting. Oh, there it is. Infinite. Okay. So if I wanted to go ahead and transmute that precise, for example, the sharpen, we could go with the precise.
Be right back. I have to go to the restroom. Okay?
Right? Now when we take a look at the character sheets, 45. Add this. We have 57 over here. We have 55. I have Spriggan's bow I could run. Yeah. So you can do it in any way, but you want the Nirnhorn is the only thing. So make sure you transmute it. So what I would suggest is this, Storm. Static. If you're going bow dual wield, one's got to be static and one has to be proc. Now if you're going two-hander, you'd have to get rid of something like Krogs. I like the idea of the Krogs and what you did with the slime crawl. You're a Bosner. You know you needed that extra stat, so you went ahead and covered the distance with this. But you're going to need one precise to go ahead and get that up to about that 55-point marker. So how I would suggest is no matter what weapons you have, you want your bow Nirnhone, you want your one sword Nirnhone, and then you want your other sword precise. Keep in mind, both of your swords are going to be Night Mothers, though. No. If you have a bow of Spriggans, then you would use a sword of Spriggans. But then that would screw up your swap out. I would suggest making a bow on this one, Storm, because you can make the bow Nirnhone, you don't lose transmutation crystals. Make the bow, and then you can poison it. You can poison the main hand. I suggest the increase because it applies to both effects, but if you want to go poison, you can, because I like to poison on a bow like you do, and then I usually go with one increase because the poison won't like reapply once if it's apply. The CD will go ahead and diminish it and reapply it. But usually I always do a light attack anyways on bow side, and so this will stack. The weapon damage with the poison proc will stack. So that's why I always go with one increase and only one poison. So I get a poison effect, then I get a proc for the weapon increase. That's up to you, though. That's going to be your preference. So I only always suggest one, poison proc, usually on the bow, because I can do light attack, hit that Hawkeye, passive, boom, it's there. It's already applied. Then I usually go increase. And then I go with one regen in case I do a heavy. So that's how I usually configure it. But that's up to you. But I would say Night Mother's bow, Nirnhone. Night Mother's sword, you're going to need 2. Keep your Krogs and your Slime Crawl. You're good there. Keep your Cuirass of Night Mothers heavy. You're good there. Spriggans, 2-piece armor set. Doesn't matter how you do it. 2 pieces of Spriggans. Right. 2 pieces of your Spriggans and your jewelry. And then your Night Mothers. So basically what it's going to do is keep Spriggans static at all times. So you don't lose DPS. Because the Night Mothers is going to be a proc effect on that end. So anytime I go ahead and use any damage, it applies to the back end. Okay? For 6 seconds. This also allows you to keep all your abilities how you want. Though I would say I would use the birds on the bow side as your spammable. Keep your subterranean assaults on this end. Because now you can use all your delayed effects. So lose lover, go warrior. Yes, lose the lover, go with the warrior. Your penetration value is fine. But you're going to want one precise, because that's going to throw you up to the 55. So lose one sharpen, go with the warrior, and everything else is fine. I love your build, Storm. It was a pleasure, a honor to help you today, and thank you for becoming a sponsor. And also Rage, thank you for becoming a sponsor today. All of you guys, let's keep hitting that sponsor button. Do you still have your EU tune, buddy? I do have one. I haven't finished leveling him up yet, so I just need to go ahead and if I ever whatever. Instead of Spriggans, I like Twice Born with Lover and Tower Boons. Twice Born is flexible, especially in a build like this where she's going to need a little magicka. The only problem I've ever found with Twice Born Star is, as flexible as it is, it doesn't, when you add champion points, you start losing. That's what kind of is like the downside. But it's flexible, and depending on how you allocate champion points is where Twice Born kind of is tossed in the air a little bit here and there. It's still a great set. It still can do any content. If you like Twice Born Star, run it. Do it. I always tell people there's no wrong way. It's just going to be on how you do it. I mean, it's a preference thing. I just don't like the magicka. If I don't need magicka, I don't need that stat. The health's always good because I can readjust health. So health and stamina is good for me. But if I'm on a stam user, I don't need magicka. And if I'm on a magicka user, I don't need stam. So swap out the swords for daggers. You can do that, but here's the different, Limex. The swords will give her the passive of the 5%. That's why she's using swords. The precise would be a better option given the fact that the 2 swords will give her the passive in the twin blade and blunt, thus by 2.5. So 2 swords is giving her a 5% increase in damage modification. If she goes with the dagger, she's only going to get a critical value. And the critical value has a diminishing return. Anything after if you go push over 60, you have a diminishing return on base damage. So that's the problem with daggers. If you want to go with like a sharpened dagger, you could do that, or a Nirnholm dagger. That would be okay. Yeah, the raw damage. The base damage is also an equivalent value, so 2.5 per. If you go ahead and drop, you're losing another 2.5 off the base. I mean, daggers is okay if you need the critical value, but anything over 60, you lose base damage. So I always stay between the 55 and 60 mark is ideally what I try to stick with, so I don't lose enough in base, because you'll crit more frequently, but your base damage is shit, and your crits become shit. You can use Mace or Maul to gain additional penetration. This is true, which is why they are popular in PvP. And that's what I said. In PvE, I would use the swords. And in PvP, I agree with Rock. Go with, I'm dude. Oh, you're a dude, Storm? Okay. Okay, definitely. So, Storm, definitely go with Mauls in PvP. I agree with Rock. Maul, PvP. PvE, swords. And then keep up a set of huntings on the side. So say you're rolling in a trial, right? This build will completely take you up to a trial level. But if someone says, I have Night Mothers, switch out the Night Mothers for huntings, because it won't stack. Base damage is preferred over crit, especially in PvP. Always PvP. Because everybody's rocking impen. Always. And we always can modify the values over base. That's what... I'm not elite anymore, but that's what elite players do, is calculate base over. I'm a dude. I'm not made, bro. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's why I said, you know. That's why I apologize. Sorry, Storm. But yeah, Storm, definitely. I love the build. Your build is badass. You took everything into consideration, how to go ahead and apply the static, all your needed values. So your critical value is there. Your raw damage is there. I would go ahead and your Bosner and your regen's like prime with this. Like, I mean, look at your regen, 1242. You can go ahead. I mean, we don't have the other food on, right? I mean, if you can use the dubious and you can switch out. I would drop the Magicka a little bit, though. That's me, though, Storm. If you want to go ahead, and I would say drop that max Magicka down to about 2 and offset the health by 3. So I would take Magicka down to about 2, pump that into 3. You'll get about 17. That'll give you a little bit more survivability in PvE. PvP, you're good, because you can even, you know, do away with all that and stack. But readjusting those values at 3k a pop, it's not worth it. And I like this because you can also craft impen, right? So if you want to use this build in PvP, you can do that, because all you have to do is have a couple of your Night Mother and Spriggan's pieces, your gear sets in your impen. So you could craft literally, pick up shoulder impen, pick up waist impen, gloves impen. Crap, I like to burn shit down. Right, right. I think this is going to be I think your build is pretty badass, dude. Just keep the Spriggan static, go with the Nirnholm weapons on primary, and just readjust that. I like also your ultimate selection, because we were able to go ahead and keep at least 3% on both ends by putting the Flawless Dawnbreaker on the back bar for the bow and putting the rearming trap. Now keep in mind, you can switch that out too if you wanted to. So you could put the Blue Betty, like say if you was going to go PvP and you needed that Dawnbreaker on that end, you could switch it out as well. So you literally could put like rearming trap right over here. Then you could go with like something like bow ability for ultimate. Then you go into Fighters Guild, put Flawless Dawnbreaker, and then put the Blue Betty here to maintain the value. See what I did? So we're maintaining that value, and it's just the ultimate swap. So all you would have to do is keep your 3% applied, either or, depending on how you want to configure ultimate. Your configuration's good. It's solid. Your penetration is there. You would not need the Lover. Go with the Warrior Mundus. You can keep the 2 static values from the monster sets, and you're good. You are solid, my friend. You could go with an extra regen one too if you wanted to. So if you didn't need that extra weapon damage and you wanted to up it a little bit, but keep in mind food is the one thing. Burst base damage is what burns stuff down right. Now also in PvP, like I said, go maul with the two your dual wield. I would go with mauls. I agree with Rock, and I would make one Nirnhone and one Sharpen then, because they'll stack resistance. But thank you, Storm. Thank you, dude, for going ahead and you know, being a sponsor. Thank you, also Rage. And if anybody wants to go ahead, I'll do this once a week. So every Friday I will do build for sponsors. All right, so it's going to be an official Friday day for me. We're going to build for sponsors, and if you are a sponsor and you want me to go ahead and work something for you, go ahead, leave a comment in this section, you know, of my feed, and I'll go ahead and take a look at it for you. Blue Betty, Magic of Bull Netch equals stamina, right? Plus, it gives that major brutality. That's kind of the nice aspect. So the buff's applied from that. Like it. I like it a lot. A question I have. All classes, ultimates, no Dawnbreaker. Could I run front bar? Could Healing Thicket work on back? Okay. Yeah, you can actually use, like, say, Healing Thicket if you wanted to on the bow bar, right? You could go with your Rend here. You'll lose a little damage because you have no Fighter Guild abilities. So let's say we go with dual wield. Especially for PvP, something like that would be good. What I would suggest doing, though, you're not going to probably need your Deadly Cloak in PvP unless you want that, because you know, you're just reducing. So what I would suggest to do on this end to keep that up, if for a PvP scenario, is throw the Camouflage Hunter and then keep the Rearming Trap. Your crit, the Major Savagery isn't going to stack, but you're going to get that 3% boost. And Lewis, thank you for also sponsoring. I need help with the build. I'll leave my build in the comment of this video whenever you have time. Next Friday, Lewis. You are my priority. Keep it. Put it in the comment section. You'll be the first up. Anybody else who's a sponsor, I will try to get to it. I'll probably try to do at least 2 per sponsor Friday. Sponsor Build Fridays. I'll try to do 2 every week. If you are a sponsor and you want me to go ahead and look over something on your build, I would love to do that. I want to thank Storm today for kind of setting the precedent. It all started the other day ago with a long-term subscriber. I'm going to now do this for sponsors on a weekly occurrence. So once again, thank you. Thank you so much. And Storm, you are definitely have a lot of options. The build's solid. Like I said, Spriggan static. Grab up some Impen. You're good to go. Keep huntings on a back on reserve, depending on the content you do, and then also for PvP, pick up the mauls. So Night Mothers would just go ahead and be applied, right? So Night Mothers is great. It's going to carry you through majority of the content, PvE and PvP, because you're going to apply that debuff. They're going to get that knocked off. Your build's good. You have a good build. Working on leveling fighter. Oh yeah, definitely. Go kill zombies. Either that or you can go in Delves or Skyreach. Skyreach will throw you up there too. So, all right, man. Thank you guys for watching. If anybody has any questions, comments, please post below. I want to thank my new sponsors today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm Mr. Craven, this CSO Daily. Thank you for watching. And once again and always, have a nice day.